Can you state your name for the record, please?
I, Austin Imirowicz.
Thank you. And can you just turn around for your oath, please?
Under penalty of perjury, you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give forth this court is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do, yes, ma'am.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Want the lights back on?
Sure. I mean, we're gonna. Can you please state and spell your name? I'm
Do
sorry.
you want the lights back on?
We can do it for a while, Judge, but I do have some photos I am going to display at some point.
Okay.
Thank you. Can I proceed?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Can you please state and spell your name for the records?
Austin Imirowicz, AUSTIN-IMIROWICZ.
And Mr. Imirowicz, do you know a Konrad Imirowicz?
I do, that was my father, yes, sir.
That was your father. And your father is deceased now, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Did you know a Megan Imirowicz?
I do, that would be my sister.
Okay. Do you see her in court today?
Yep, she's to the right, yes, sir.
I'm sorry, can you say that again?
She's to the right, yes, sir. My bad.
To your right?
Yeah, to your right, or my right.
This is my left.
Your left, sorry.
It's okay. You're a little nervous.
Yeah.
It's okay. Judge, has the record reflect the witness and identify the defendant.
No objection, Your Honor.
So noted.
Thank you.
Speak up.
Yeah. And if you can speak up for us, if that's okay.
Yes, sir.
Do your best. Thank you. Where were you living around October 1st, 2021?
I was living around October. I was living out in Pontiac off of Stanley.
Okay, so you weren't living with your father at that time?
In October, no.
Okay. Who was living with your father?
In October, it was still my father and Megan.
Okay.
I was still visiting, though.
Okay. You still had a room at the house?
I had given my room to him, but I was more so like visiting for the day, and then he was taking me home or to work. But yeah.
All right. Where was Megan's room in the house?
Megan's room in the house was, so if you walked up the stairs and you went right, it'd be right across the hall. So it was on the second floor to the right.
All right. So like when you walk in your house, it's a split level, right?
Yes.
So you walk in the landing. There's the stairs.
Mhm.
Is that a yes?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. You go up the stairs. To the left is the living room with the couch,
Yep.
and to the right down the hallway is Megan's room.
Yep. Megan's room, and then to the left was the bathroom, and to the right was my room.
Okay. I want to take you to October 1st, 2021. You came to be aware that something happened that day, right? Did you get a phone call from Kayla?
Yes. No. Yes. Sorry. Yeah,
That's
I
all
did
right.
get a phone call from Kayla that day.
Okay. And that's Kayla Bosquet.
Yes, sir.
And what was your relationship with Kayla at the time?
As a neighbor. She was a friend and a neighbor.
Okay. You'd known her for a while.
Yeah, I'd known her since freshman year, I believe.
Okay. And you were already graduated by then?
I had just graduated.
Just
yes.
graduated. Right. So she called you. How did she sound on the phone?
She sounded kind of confused and concerned. She had told me how that she had thought my dad had an accident or something. I had asked her, like, what do you mean? Like, you know, what's he look like? She had mentioned how he was kind of covered in, like, black something, or not sure if it was, like, not sure how it was described, but, like, he didn't look well.
Okay.
And then I had told her to call the ambulance and that I was on my way.
All right. Now, she was upset on the phone, you said?
Like, concerned. She seemed just more concerned, yes, sir.
Okay. What were you thinking when she was describing to you what she was seeing?
I thought that maybe he had just had an injury or maybe he had fallen or something like that. I wasn't expecting to see what I had seen when I got there. If that's
Okay.
what you're asking.
And you said you left then?
Yes, I was on my way to go meet her after I told her to call for an ambulance and police. I was on my way with my roommate, Lucas, who was driving me out there.
Okay. Was there anyone else with you and Lucas?
It was me, Lucas, Bella, and Chase, I believe.
Okay. And who are Bella and Chase?
Bella was also a roommate at the time, Lucas's girlfriend. Chase was also a roommate at the time, a good homie of all of us.
Okay. How far was it from where you lived to the home here? To your father's home?
To the old house?
Yes.
I'd say 15, 20, but no further, really.
Okay. Did you leave right away?
I did leave right away, yes. Actually, as soon as she described that he looked like he was black and covered in something, I had started throwing out my shoes as I was talking to her on the phone, and then I got in the car and left.
Okay. Everyone else came with you?
Yes, sir.
All right. When you got to the house, what did you see? When you first pull up?
Well, when I first pulled up, I had seen, if I remember correctly, I believe there was an ambulance already. We had gotten there, walked up, and he was like, just all black and like burned.
Okay, so you said he. Are you talking about your father now? Is that a yes?
Yes,
You
sir.
got to keep your voice up if you can. I know it's
Yes,
hard.
sir.
Was he already outside?
He was on his way getting transported outside in the stretcher.
Okay.
But he looked black. He looked a bit burned or whatever. And
All right, so you could see his injuries?
yes, sir.
Did you try and talk to him at that point?
I did. Actually, I tried talking to him. I'd asked him what had happened. He just had told me that he was fine. He doesn't know, as they were lowering him into the ambulance. And then I further talked to him a bit more when we first got to Genesis.
Okay, we'll get there. What did you think when you saw some of these injuries on him that first time?
I mean, to be honest with you, sir, there's not really a good, not really something I formulate in my head. I was kind of more just shocked, and like, whoa, like what had happened.
Okay. When you were talking to him there and he said he was fine, how did he sound to you?
He sounded normal, which to me was a bit surprising considering how he had looked. But he sounded normal. He was happy. He was him. I mean, he was normal.
Okay. And they put him in the ambulance and then they left, is that right?
Yes, sir. And then we followed that.
Okay. Did you go in the house first?
I had gone in the house real quickly once to go and see, like, maybe if there was something I could see to would have happened or something. But, yeah.
Okay. And when you went to the ambulance, or went to the hospital, that was Ascension Genesis, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. How long were you there before you got to talk to your dad?
Ooh.
Roughly, if you recall.
Roughly, it wasn't that long. I'd have to say maybe like at most 25-minute wait. I'd gotten in there pretty quick towards speaking to him and be talked to by the nurse.
Okay. When you got there, did you go in first or did somebody else go in first? To see your dad?
No, I believe I was the first one in with Lucas to see him. Along.
With Lucas, you said?
Yes.
Okay. And who is Lucas?
Lucas is an old friend.
Okay. How long have you known Lucas?
Known Lucas since high school.
Okay. Was he over at your house a lot?
Yes.
Okay. And so you went in with Lucas to talk to your father.
Yes, sir.
When you were in there, what did you guys talk about?
I'd asked him what had happened, if he had known, like, because he had told me that, well, no, hang on. I asked him what had happened. I told him, like, you don't look all right. He had told me that he had just set off a bug bomb or something. Lucas and I had both agreed and told him, like, Dad, a bug bomb doesn't do this to you. And that was it, because for the rest, he had insisted that that's what it was. He couldn't remember anything else. He had told us that, like, he was fine. He said he just had, like, one drink and went to bed, so that was it. And that was the last thing he remembered.
So he told you had one drink and gone to bed.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall him saying anything about Megan?
I don't. I know before, if I'm allowed to backtrack.
Well, yeah, answer the question, I guess.
Oh.
Do you recall if he said anything about Megan?
No, not at that time, no.
Okay. Not at that time. Did he say anything about Megan another time?
I had heard that before.
Well, heard from whom?
Kayla.
Okay. We're not going to talk about what Kayla told you.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
But you didn't recall everything he told you, is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You wrote out a written statement in this instance, right?
Yes.
Okay. That was closer in time to when this happened, wasn't it?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when you wrote that written statement?
I believe, well, I know it was right after, in the same day that night after I had visited my dad, after we'd gotten to the other hospital.
Mhm.
But I do remember writing that statement, yes, sir.
Fair to say that that incident was fresh in your memory then?
Yeah.
Judge, may I approach the witness?
Yes.
Statement.
Okay. All right.
Do you think this might refresh your recollection?
Possibly, yes, sir.
I'm just going to ask you to read your statement. And then when you're done reading it, just read quietly to yourself. When you're done, just put it face down and look up at me, please. Does that refresh your recollection?
A little bit, yes, sir.
Okay. Do you recall your father telling you anything about Kayla, or Megan at that point?
No.
Okay. You wrote down something about that, though, didn't you?
Believe so, yes.
Okay. Judge, I'm going to have to change my order of exhibits. At this one, I would move to admit this statement as a past recollection recorded.
Mr. Miller?
No objection, Your Honor.
So admitted.
And this would be, just so we don't mess up all the order of all exhibits, Exhibit 19.
I have a 19. Is this Exhibit 20?
Sorry, yes, Exhibit 20. Thank you.
Okay.
I've got stickers on there. All right. Also, I'm going to ask that you read your statement into the record, please.
Out loud?
Yes.
So I was at home. Then Kayla had called me at 6:58, letting me know my dad was in bad condition. I told her how to help him and to call the police, and rushed over when I got there. He was sober, conscious, but had the burns when they took him to the hospital. I then checked the spot where he was there. There was blood and smell of some chemical at the hospital. My dad mentioned to me how stuff was thrown at him, like clothes, cans, hairspray, and he said he believes it was cleaning supplies.
You can reach page 2, sir.
He had trouble remembering. He also mentioned he bombed the house. Lucas and I asked if he was covering for Meg. That's when he stated Megan said she threw bread at him to my mom and grandma, but my dad said trash, clothes, cans were thrown at him. He also said how him and Meg did fight but talked, then he went to bed and woke up like that to being put in an ambulance, and then stated he can't and couldn't remember as he was at the hospital, as he got emotional. Also, when I was at the hospital, Megan called knowing I was at the hospital and wasn't concerned about him, only asked about how to get his credit card to work. I told her I don't know and I don't care, I am at the hospital, and she got mad and hung up.
Okay. Again, that statement was made on the same day, correct?
Yes, sir.
Closer in time and better recollection at that point.
Yes, sir.
Okay. When you were talking to your dad there, how did he seem?
Scared. If I'm going to be honest, scared.
Were you scared?
Yeah. No, I'm not going to lie, yeah.
Okay. You also talked to Megan that night, right?
Yep.
Okay, and that was encapsulated in your statement. Is that a yes?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So while you're at the hospital, you talked to Megan on the phone.
Yep.
Do you recall who called whom?
She had called me.
Okay, she called you.
Yes, sir.
What did she say to you when she called you?
She had called me and it had gone that she was asking about if I knew Dad's PIN or whatever. I told her no, why, because he's at the hospital, and that's when she was like, oh, and then just hung up, and that was it.
Okay.
That was the end of that phone call.
How did you feel about that?
I was angry.
Why?
I mean, to show no care at all, but I mean, to dismiss something serious when.
All right. Now, while you were at the hospital, other people showed up. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Julie Konrad was one of those people?
Yes, sir.
And who was Julie Konrad?
My mother.
Okay. Was she and your father together at that time?
No.
Okay, they were divorced?
Yeah, it happened for a very long time.
Okay. At some point you went back to the house, is that right?
I went back to the house later after getting approved with a group of roommates to get the cats. Yes, sir.
Okay. And you were inside the house briefly, you said, when Konrad was still being taken out?
Yes, I had gone in just for a second before following the ambulance. Yes, sir.
Okay. In those times, what did you observe about the area where your father was?
There was some sort of white, whatever it was. I'm assuming it's safe to say it's probably a chemical. But there was just like a ton of it. It was white stuff all over the couch. And then next to the end of the couch, there was like, I think cleaning supplies or whatever. And then just a bunch of other junk.
Okay. 1 second, Judge. The witness would have previously marked as People's Exhibits 4 through 8, I believe. Yes, 4 through 8.
Yes.
You got the rest. Take a look at those for me. Do you recognize what's shown in those photographs?
I don't recognize it, no, sir, but I know that that is what was on the couch that I saw, yes.
Okay, so you don't recognize, you don't know what the bottle itself is and that
No,
stuff?
sir.
Okay, but are those photographs of your couch at the home?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do those photos fairly and accurately depict what you saw when you were examining the scene that day?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Judge, I'd move to admit People's Proposed Exhibits 4 through 8.
No objection.
So admitted.
And I'm going to put on the screen here, if that's all right.
Juror in seat number 1, can you turn off light 1, 2, and 3, please? Thank you.
She should get a raise for extra work.
I'm showing People's Proposed Exhibit 4. Austin, tell us what we're looking at here.
It's a couch, the blanket, and that's the white stuff that I saw from the bottle. And then above that's the window seal.
Okay. Now I'm gonna highlight something with my cursor here. Is this the bottle itself that you were talking about?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you tell me about the couch here? This is a brown couch, but there's some discoloration here, isn't there?
Yes, sir.
What is that?
That I do not know. I'd assumed that maybe it was from the white bottle, but that I don't know, and to this day I still don't.
Okay. Was the couch wet?
Not that I know of, no, sir.
Okay. Now, all right, moving on to the next one. This is just People's Exhibit 5. Now, the bottle's in a different location here, but is this what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
Is that some of the white powder you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever touch any of that stuff?
No.
Okay.
I left it in the same position it was the whole time until I believe it was finally later moved by what I'm assuming would be authorities.
Okay. In fact, you went with authorities to open the house for that, didn't you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is another picture of that bottle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and more of the white stuff on the couch.
Yep, that's still the couch too, yes, sir.
All right. And is that the bottle you saw?
Yeah, that's the bottle I saw. I'd never seen the front of it like that, but yes, sir.
Okay. Had you ever seen this stuff before in the house?
No, sir.
Okay. You were over there pretty often, right? You used to live there.
No, yeah, I lived there my whole life, actually. I knew about almost everything that we had, whether it was in the cabinet, bathroom, etc.
Okay. But you had never seen this before?
No. No,
All
sir.
right. And is this that same blanket?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now it has a red pattern on it, but can you tell me what this looks like to you here that I'm circling?
From here to me, other than the red pattern, it looks white with some of that stuff.
Okay. And this here as well?
Yes, sir. Same with there. It just looks like it's a ball form or whatever.
Okay. Now, I'm going to unplug here for a moment. A couple months later, in fact in December, you went back to the home with an investigator from my office and myself, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in fact you had been going to the home periodically throughout,
Yes, sir.
because you were taking care of the house, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Now, the appearance of the couch had changed in that amount of time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Judge, I'm showing the witness People's Proposed Exhibits 10, 11, and 12. May I approach?
Yes. 10, 11, and 12, no, 9.
Correct, 9 will come in later, Judge. Just take a look at these for me. Do you recognize what's shown in those photographs?
Other than the living room and the blanket, no, sir.
That's the couch, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that the couch as it looked a couple months after?
After, no, it did look a bit different, but I'm not sure what really had happened. But like this was like later though.
Okay. So let me phrase it this way. The couch changed appearance, correct?
Yes, sir.
You don't know why, but it did.
Yes, sir.
Is that how it looked?
After or? I'm sorry, sir.
That's okay. a couple months after October 1st, is that what the couch looked like?
A couple months after. I believe it still had some, but not to that extent, no, sir.
Okay. This is the same couch,
Yes, sir.
and you saw it look different, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Do these pictures show what the couch looked like at some point later?
Kinda. It's just missing the bottle.
Missing the lie bottle.
Yes, sir.
Right, the lie bottle hadn't moved, but the couch in particular.
Yeah.
Okay. Judge, I'd move to admit these as people's 10, 11, and 12.
Guess I would object to those, Your Honor. It's like, he's not real sure. I know he didn't take them. I don't believe they're admissible at this point.
Judge, you said that these are this is the couch, this is how it looked, it's just the lie bottle's missing. That's the only thing that you said was different.
Okay, but it has to be at the time that the photograph was taken, and was that ever established? You said a couple months after. The witness indicated that that is not what it looked like a couple of months later.
Let me try this.
Yes, sir.
Middle of December,
Yes, sir.
2021. You went to the house with myself and investigator Don Tullock, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You recall that incident?
Yes.
Okay. You had been at the house between then.
Yes.
Yes, you'd been at the house after.
Yes, sir.
At some point, did the couch come to look different? In that whole period of time?
Yes, but no. But like the white stuff was still there.
Okay.
You could tell some was kind of disappearing, but not fully.
The
But
color of the couch fabric itself?
I didn't notice a difference in the fabric. No.
Okay. So the fabric here doesn't look different to you?
I mean, it looks white.
Okay, so the fabric did change color.
I'm so sorry, sir.
Don't be sorry. It's okay. Let me ask you this. Did you pay close attention to the fabric of the couch?
I paid close. I took a glance at the couch and I took a glance at the bottom, but that was it.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Judge, I'll withdraw the motion to admit
you,
those.
sir.
Thank you. Okay. Now, your father was in the hospital for quite some time, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall when he came home?
It was either. No, it was March.
Okay.
It was around March.
Of the next year, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, you were the next of kin for your dad, is that right?
Yes, sir.
You authorized a lot of medical care.
Yes, sir.
Your father was sedated often.
Yes, sir.
He was getting much medication, correct?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell us about some of the procedures that your father went through while he was at the hospital?
I guess, Your Honor, I'm going to object. This is the form of the question. He may not know the procedures. He can say what he authorized.
Okay.
Well, I know a good amount of them.
All right.
I mean,
Let me ask you this. There was treatments done to your father's legs.
yes, sir.
Did you participate in the decision-making around those decisions?
Yes, I will say I did participate in one of the decisions, but I also left the decision in his hands because I had told him that, yes, I'm in charge, but it's not my life. It's also up to you.
Okay.
So he had told the nurse, shook his head, and they authorized it. And eventually he had lost both his legs. Yes, they were, I believe it was carcicated and then whatever.
So that was for the amputation of his legs.
Yes, sir, amputation.
Did they amputate both of his legs?
Yes. By the time before he had come home, yes, both legs were amputated. At first they amputated one and they started with the left side leg, I believe.
Okay. Did you come to learn why? What were you...
They amputated the legs because the legs were too severely infected and damaged with burns. And because of how deep it had went and gone, they had told me that he would bleed a lot if they had tried to laser or scrape it out, whatever they were doing. And so they had said that the best option, the best procedure to go about it was just to do an amputation, to cut it off from there, clean it up from there, and so that's what they did.
Did you authorize treatment pertaining to infections?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall how many times that was?
I don't, but I know he had a lot of treatments because I visited daily, and there were times where I had to wait, times where I actually couldn't visit. I mean, he had a lot of treatments, medication, numbing, then he had a lot of skin therapy, graphing, yeah.
Were you there when he was put on dialysis?
I was, actually, yes.
All right. Were you there when they gave him, when they did a tracheotomy?
The trachea, yes.
Okay. And what was the tracheotomy?
It went down in his throat, I believe, and it was something that they had given him to help him speak, and it's something that I remember because he had thought that he was not going to need it when he was coming home, but he still had it when he was coming home.
Okay. Was he having trouble speaking during those couple months?
At first he didn't speak at all, But then after a while, he started speaking again. He struggled, yeah, a little. But when he had came home near the end, I mean, it was a bit better.
Okay. Now you said when he came home near the end.
Yep.
How did it be that he came home?
Came home on hospice.
You want some tissue, sir?
No.
Would you like some water? Okay.
There should be tissue right next to you.
You said he.
Thank you.
You said he came home on hospice.
Yep.
Okay. Did he make that decision or did you?
Yeah. Whew! He made that decision, sorry.
Okay.
He made that decision. I remember because I wasn't expecting him home. I thought I had more time, so he decided that he wanted to come home. So me and a great group of friends that I had helped me out, helped me get the house ready, and he came home.
Okay. And then he died 3 days later, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else, Judge.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Thank you, Your Honor. Okay. Austin, Mr. Imirowicz, you indicated that your father, when the accident occurred, was he able to talk then?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, sir.
So it was sometime later he had a tracheotomy and had problems talking?
Well, at first, before he had the tracheotomy, he couldn't talk at all. And if he did, it was like little. After the trach is when he started to have something of a voice again, yes.
Okay. How soon after the accident did he stop talking? Do you remember? Because you indicated that he made some statements when he was at the hospital or the emergency room when he got there, right?
I don't know, to be honest with you. All I
That's
know
fine.
is he was talking, and then at Ascension Genesis, they moved him. And whatever they started doing after that, wasn't talking.
Okay, so he didn't talk for a while, correct?
Yes, sir.
Not to you. And this was a very difficult situation, I understand that. Your father drank quite a bit on occasion, correct?
Yeah, everyone drinks, sir.
Okay. He drank more than most, though, right?
No, sir. I will admit this much because I lived there my whole life. He drank, yes. But on more occasions was there more than others? No, sir. Because at all times, at least especially when I was there and from what I had seen and had always seen, he'd still get up, he was still functional, he still talked, he still called his family, and he still sat there and talked with me in my room. Because him and I hung out a lot, sir.
Okay.
But I will say, no, yes, he did drink. But then again, I mean, who doesn't? Who hasn't?
Well, he showed up at your graduation party, didn't he?
I didn't have a graduation party, sir. Actually, it was a little get-together. But I'm not the one that had planned or hosted it because I did not want one.
All right. But he showed up at that party, correct?
I mean, it was at the house, so yeah, he was there.
All right. He smelled of urine at that time, didn't he?
No, sir, not that I know of, no. He smelled totally fine to me that day.
He was slurring his speech, wasn't he?
No, not that I know of either on that day. Because on that day, in an honest answer, an honest remembering, he smelled fine and he wasn't slurring no speech. But also, then again, I was hanging with a bunch of people.
You didn't talk to him?
No, I'd spoken to him, yes, but he had nothing like that you are saying on him or described in that way.
The medical records indicate that he was severely intoxicated. Would you disagree with it on that day?
No, because I know that's something that the nurses did tell me about, that he had shown up with a pretty high level.
All right. And
But
go ahead. You had indicated when you got there in your preliminary exam transcript that he was slurring his speech the first time.
I put that in my transcript. Is that what you said? Or
That's what you testified to last time.
I testified to that he drank, yes, sir. Because I'm not going to lie and say that someone doesn't drink alcohol. If that's what you're asking, yes. And last time, that is what I testified to, is the fact that, yes, he does drink alcohol.
He did slur his speech on that
He did
occasion?
not slur his speech. No. Not that I know of, and not that I remember hearing. And I knew my father pretty damn well.
All right. You indicated that he set the bug bomb off that day.
He had said that it was a bug bomb that had done it, and he had said that he had set one off later that night, yes, but I do not believe that a bug bomb had done that to him.
Well, I'm asking you what he said to you, not what you believe, all right?
All right, yes, sir.
Okay. Now, When was the last time you saw him prior to that date? Do you remember?
Before I saw him in the hospital,
Prior to the October 1st date.
I saw him literally the night before because he had dropped me off, picked me up from work. I was working in Mexico Lindo, picked me up around 11 o'clock at night, took me back to Stanley, which was my place that I was living with my roommates, dropped me off. I'd asked him if he wanted to stay the night. He said no. Him and I talked for a bit and he went home because he said he had to take care of Megan.
Okay. And he would look fine on that date, correct?
Yes, sir. No, yeah.
Good. All right. You indicated, and you testified that, he stated that Megan and he had a fight that day, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at that point in time, there were some things thrown.
Yes, sir.
After that, he indicated that it was over. He went and took a nap.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
So the fight was over and he went and took a nap, correct?
That is the last thing that he had remembered, that he had told me. I do not know because I was not there that day when they had the fight.
I understand, but that's what he told you, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, you have another brother and sister, correct?
Yeah. I haven't spoken to him in 4 years, though. They stopped visiting, and I just stopped caring.
Did you ever notify them that their father had passed away?
I'm going to object as to relevance.
There was a notification.
Hold
There's
on.
an objection.
Hold on, sir. Response?
Your Honor, there's some hostility here. There are other children involved. I believe that he has basically a bias towards everyone. He's the one who's in charge, and I think it shows his attitude about the situation.
I don't know what a bias towards other people who were not involved or
Other
not there.
family members.
I understand. Yeah.
Okay. Court is going to sustain the objection.
All right. Okay. At any time your father talked, did he say that Megan threw this white powder on him?
No, not for the white powder.
At the hospital on that first date, did he ever say Megan threw the white powder on him?
No, but then again, he could not have remembered, and he had a hard time remembering.
But now, I asked what your father said. All right?
I know.
Okay? I didn't ask what you think he remembered or what he didn't. Okay? After the incident, did you go back in the house?
I went back there one time after getting permission to get the cats, and then another time with DeSantis and one of his, I believe, officers or buddies.
Okay.
And then after that, the other time, every time I'd made sure I'd gotten permission, but it was just to make sure there was nothing left, evacuate anything that still could have been saved at the time, and then that was it. The rest of it I left. It was dewinterized for a while.
All right. And when you were in the house, it was a fairly messy house, correct?
Yeah.
That's kind of the way he lived?
No, not always, but it's what became of it, yeah.
Near the end, when you moved out, the house was messy, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there were fleas in the house at that point in time?
No.
No fleas?
No.
Were there cats in the house?
The cats were in the house, yeah, but then, the cats were inside and outside house, so it's like 50-50. Sometimes they were in, sometimes they weren't. I don't fully remember if the cats were in that house that day, though.
All right. Okay, if I could have a minute.
Sure.
Briefly,
Yes.
Mr. Miller asked you about whether or not your father told you that that Megan threw white powder, but in your written statement it did say cleaning supplies, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He didn't specify what kind of cleaning supplies.
No.
Okay. Do you know what the white powder is?
If I remember correctly, from what I had asked and what I had looked up, I believe it is known as lye powder.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing further.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, do you have any questions? Okay, sir, you may step down. You're excused as a witness.